Good evening. You are listening to the Fumblerooski podcast by Power 88 Dean Radio. I am your host, Adam Wright, along with Justin Tucker, our co-host. Now, we have our tight ends to rank going into the 2021 season. As always, we're going to transition into offense now. So we're going to go into wide receivers next week. It's running backs next week. Then we have then we have wide receivers, then quarterbacks. And then we'll have a couple predictions for the season. Some player awards, individual player awards, like comeback player of the year predictions, MVP predictions, stuff like that. But before we get to our rankings, we're going to get into, as always, the current news in the NFL. So alternate helmets have now been approved for the 2021 season. So that does mean that throwback uniforms are coming back. So all the Patriots throwback uniforms, the stuff that they wore in the 2010 season, that can come back. Some of the Eagles stuff, I'm not sure if they're going to do that. There's going to be a couple teams that'll decline to do that, but the 2022 season, we can now have some throwback uniforms. So Justin, how are you feeling about this? What are your thoughts on it?
I was just ecstatic when I heard the news. I was like, first off, I kind of always liked the Patriots throwback uniforms. They were just, I always thought they were good looking. So I was like, oh, I can see those again. That's nice when I'm up in New England with you. I always thought the Eagles, as green as it is, I thought it was a nice little touch, especially I think it was the first time I saw it, it was against the Green Bay Packers when Michael Vick was still on the Eagles. So I think it's a good one. But some of the other uniforms that may or may not be making a return, I don't know. I'm Denver. It depends on which Denver uniforms they have. But other than that, overall, I think it's pretty exciting. We're starting to see more and more opening up from the NFL now.
Yeah, I really like that they're kind of being a little more open, and they're kind of being more open-minded in some ways. They've made a lot of big executive decisions over the past few years, from moving to 17 games. They've added it. There's this. One thought I do have on the Patriots for their throwback uniforms is which ones they're going to do. I'm sure they're going to do the ones that they did in 2010, where they had the Patriot who was getting ready to snap the football. That one's cool. Obviously, everybody loves that. A lot of people want to see that. But what I wonder is if they'll bring back those 90s Patriots uniforms. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I'm not well versed in 90s Patriots uniforms.
It's like what they have now, except it's interesting. You just have to see it. I'll show you a picture, but it's I'm sure a lot of you Patriots fans listening, I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. But there's these Patriots uniforms that were kind of after the original ones and before the ones that we have currently. So it's really interesting what they have, and I kind of hope they bring that back. But anyways, Pro Football Focus. What's that?
I'm kind of curious about the Seahawks one because they had the neon color one, and that one kind of looked cool.
Yeah, they do have a lot. So I'm intrigued by what they bring back, and I'm intrigued by how it looks in like the modern day, like bringing these back. We know what the 2010 Patriots one, I keep on saying 2010 Patriots. We saw the Patriots throwback uniforms because they used them in 2010, but other than that, we really haven't seen much. Dolphins, I actually thought the Dolphins had really good uniforms back in the day. What did you think? I thought they were really good.
They're Dolphins, so they're good uniforms, but again, it's the Dolphins.
They still have good uniforms. I'm sure Sean, our favorite Dolphins fan, who's been on our podcast a couple of times, I'm sure he's listening and thinking, he probably agrees with us. But I would love to see their throwback uniforms. A lot of uniforms I'd love to. I'm intrigued by, but it's going to be interesting when the 2022 season comes around. It would be interesting if they kind of had like just the entire league just wore their old uniforms for just 1 year, and they just brought everything back for like one season.
That'd
What do
be
you
an
think of
interesting
that?
idea, but I'm not sure Roger would allow that. But we'll see. This is a baby step in hopefully in the right direction.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. I'm intrigued. So I'm not sure. I'm sure it's. I wouldn't think it's a bad thing. I mean, it's not like all NFL teams are changing things. So like, I'm intrigued by what they're getting more creative now. But anyways, Pro Football Focus is released. So they've actually decided to copy what we're doing, and they put out some player rankings of their own. So obviously everybody just wants to be like us, and they decided, and yeah, of course, everybody wants to copy our ideas, but they released their top 50 players right now. So basically going into the 2021 season. So we have a couple of thoughts on that, but Justin, would you like to start? Well, obviously we're not gonna name off the top 50 players here and just dissect it. It's too
Yeah.
long, and we have our own rankings to do for ourselves. But Justin, do you have any? What are your thoughts on this?
First and foremost, how
On
the
this list?
hell is Lamar Jackson off the list? I don't know. What? You're telling me there is 50 players in the NFL? Not 10, not 15, not 30, 50 players that are better than the unanimous MVP that is Lamar Jackson. I couldn't believe the list when I saw it. I'm still confused about the list. Some of the names I saw before him, I'm like, they're not even better than him at their own position, let alone overall. I'm like, how did they mess this up? And I guess when they came up with the list, they said moving forward, they don't see how Lamar Jackson is going to be ahead of everybody else. Let me tell you something. This guy had a bottom 5 ranked wide receiver core, and they upgraded it this year. He'll be just fine as far as passing is concerned. So I believe he will be a certified top 5 to top 3 quarterback in the league, and that is not even up for discussion.
Where do you think Lamar Jackson should be on this list in the top 50?
I'm I'm being conservative and saying top 15.
Top 15. Okay.
I really don't think it's like I believe there's like 4 to 5 quarterbacks that are better than him or like arguable. But other than that, nah, I don't think there's many like overall players better than him. I mean, Aaron Donald, sure, and then there's a few others that you can make a case for, but nah, he's at least at minimum top 15.
So you don't think top 20 could be a possibility?
No, like who would like no.
Well, we'd have to name off all of the, like, we're talking about all the players. So like this is like you guys listening, I would go online, look up their top 50 players. We can't really give it to you right now because number one, it's a lot to just go over, and we have our own rankings to do. But there's a lot of different players on this list, and there's a lot of. I mean, it's really controversial, some of the stuff that they have in there. For example, um, what I found interesting is Tom Brady is number 7. All right.
That's not
Nothing
bad.
wrong with that. Very good for Tom Brady, especially at his going into his age 44 season. He has all the momentum going with him, coming off
Mm-hmm.
a Super Bowl victory through 40 touchdown passes, just 12 interceptions, and for 4,600 yards. Um, what I find intriguing about this is Aaron Rodgers is ranked number 10 going into this season. Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers is ranked lower than Tom Brady. The reigning MVP is ranked lower than Tom Brady, 3 spots lower. Now, what this could mean is that people are factoring in the possibility, and now we can talk about how much of a possibility another time, but the possibility that he could opt out of the 2021 season. There could be all the drama, and even if he does, now even if he does play, all this drama going on, all these tensions that are swirling within their organization, this could be an issue for Aaron Rodgers, and that we could see some dysfunction in the team, and maybe it could affect his play. Maybe it's that. And when you look at the other side with Tom Brady, he has all the momentum on his side. You can make a case that because that he has all the momentum on his side because he just won the Super Bowl. Obviously, he just threw 40 touchdown passes, and the team went on a long run. They were what 6-5 at one point in the season, 6-5, 7-5, and they just won every game since then. So you wonder if they have some momentum going. Tom Brady is going to be in year 2 of it in his new system. He just got his knee repaired. So you just wonder if all of this momentum is going to result in Tom Brady. Maybe you can give some credibility to Tom Brady being, call me a biased Patriots and Tom Brady fan, but maybe you can give some credibility to Tom Brady possibly having a better season than Aaron Rodgers next year.
You're a biased Tom Brady fan. Only you could look at that list and talk about a rivalry between Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. Only you could do that, but you are a Brady fan.
So you think you can't make an argument that Aaron Rodgers is going to have a worse season than Tom Brady?
You can make the argument, but at the same time, I don't think he'll have a worse season than Tom Brady. Not by far. I think when Aaron Rodgers is motivated, I don't think there's a better quarterback alive than him.
So do you think he is motivated right now?
Yes. However, I don't think he's motivated to play. I think he's motivated to get out of there.
So I wonder. So he was motivated last season, and things didn't work out. Could you see him just throwing up his hands and then saying, this isn't working out. I just want out of here. I don't want to play for this team anymore. He skipped OTAs and he skipped mandatory minicamp. If he continues to hold out, maybe, if he were as motivated as you say he is, then I'm thinking this guy just doesn't have the motivation to play with his team anymore, and he just doesn't have the drive to win with his team. I'm sure he wants to win. Everybody wants to win, but my question is, does he hate losing? There's a lot of everybody likes to win, but there's a lot of those players who they hate losing. They can't stand the thought of losing. Those are the players who are separated from the rest. I just wonder is Aaron Rodgers' frustration just getting to a point where he's just throwing up his hands, just saying, I can't be here anymore.
Yeah, I think it's starting to get to that. I think we're at that point now. I think he's just tired of the situation and he's ready to move on. The problem is he still has 2 or 3 more years on that contract. So it's he can't move even if he wants to. He has to hope and pray that the Packers organization wants to move him. And they've made it very clear they don't want to move him. So it's okay, I guess this is where we're at this moment in time.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out going into I think he's going to play for the 2021 season. I don't know about you.
Same.
It's just a matter of how good his season will be. And it's hard to be better than what he was last year. I just don't see him replicating those numbers. He could still have a good year, but will he be MVP? Probably not.
I could see I could see it because I think Bakhtiari's coming back healthy and he has Devontae Adams. Yes.
Well, sure. He had Devontae Adams and David Bakhtiari last year.
Bakhtiari got injured towards the tail end of the season.
Was it an ACL tear or was it a Achilles tear? If it is an Achilles tear, then that's tough.
It's one of those 2 injuries. I just know he was out for the remainder of the season, which was a heavy blow to that team.
It was, and it could be It could be part of the reason why he was on his ass half the time during the NFC Championship.
Could be.
He was getting the crap kicked out of him, especially in the beginning of that. Especially in the beginning of that game, they were coming at him. And that's really the formula to how the Buccaneers win games, is that If you get to the quarterback and you keep your quarterback on your feet, you're gonna win. You're gonna win the game. Tom Brady, if he's on his feet, he'll pick any defense apart. Doesn't matter how talented that defense is. But the trick is keeping him on his feet because he's not the most mobile quarterback. Anyways, we're going to get into our top 10 tight ends. As always, we're going to split it in half. So we're going to go to the bottom 5. So 10 through 6 first, coming up next. And then after that, we're going to have the top 5 tight ends in the entire National Football League. So stay tuned. You're not going to miss this. You're listening to the Fumblerooski podcast. Okay, let's get started. Without further ado, we have our top 10 tight ends coming into the National Football League. We have number 10 coming up right now. So this is our first week of offense. Justin, do you want to kick us off here at number 10?
This might shock people, but number 10, I put Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
All right, elaborate. So do you think he's high or do you think he's low? Is that in what way is that?
I think since he's a rookie coming into the league, I think that's a fair placement for him. We don't know how good he'll be because he hasn't played an NFL game yet. Once you figure out what he's good at and what he's bad at on the NFL level, then you'll be able to place him. And based off the hype, he might become one of the top tight ends in the league if all goes well, knock on wood. But I think 10 is a solid place to start for him. Not too high, not too low. It's just a good foundation because he was picked in the top 5. So you like everything you see on tape. You just need to show it on the field.
So that's an interesting one. And I have Pitts a little higher, so I'll give you my input on Kyle Pitts. I mean, I think it's not a matter of if he'll be, knock on wood, it's not a matter of if he'll be the right player for the NFL. It's more so like when he'll be the right player for the NFL, like when he'll actually pan out. I mean, because tight ends in the NFL, they always take a couple of years to develop. It's very rare that you see a rookie tight end come out and just light it up in year 1. Usually it takes a year or 2. But anyways, at number 10, I actually have Hunter Henry. Now Hunter Henry, he's always been like around among the top tight ends in the league. Not top of the top, but he's like around. He's been hovering around there, like at around number 10. And the biggest knock on Hunter Henry is not his performance, because he always performs well. It's mainly the fact that he just can't stay healthy. He has a very long injury history, and I would have him higher. I mean, the other guys that I have in front of him aren't too special either. I mean, it's not that they're not special. It's just that they're not. You can make a case for a lot of tight ends being over the other, but the reason I have Hunter Henry below everybody else is because he just can't stay healthy, and until he can prove that, then I'll have him much higher. So if he has a better season, then maybe during next summer at this time, I could have him at, say, top 6, top 7. But I just don't see it for now. I have him at number 10. What do you think?
I have him a little higher. That one surprised me. I thought you were going to let your bias get away from you with Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. I really thought that was going to get you. But that's a fair ranking. He's not my number 9 guy. My number 9 guy is Mike Gesicki, tight end out of Miami.
I agree. He's my number 9 guy.
Yeah. I don't think he's better than I don't think he's bad. It's just that I think he's solid is the best way I can put it. I think he's a very athletic tight end for his position. All in all, I think he just needs another year under his belt with Tua for him to actually like really flash like top 5 like tight end potential. because I've seen flashes here or there with Miami, especially against the game against Kansas City, when he made that spectacular catch in like double, triple coverage for a touchdown, or at least in position for a touchdown. So I know he has the potential to have big playmaking ability. I just want to see more of it from that team. And hopefully Tua takes a step in the right direction. And I believe Mike will take a huge step this year, all things considered.
Yeah, great potential, great athleticism. His hand-eye coordination is incredible. He's had a couple one-handed catches where you just look at it and it's like, wow. Like he had a bit of an underwhelming season. And people had some expectations for him for last season, and he was a little underwhelming, but he showed flashes. So this is a guy where, and especially towards the back end of the season, where he kind of started to show more life, and he started to show what he really could be. This is a player who looks like he's ready to erupt, and he could absolutely, with not much of an injury history either. He's a player who could actually explode if all goes right. Let's say hopefully his quarterback plays well, Tua, and he's able to have a great season. So I have Mike Gesicki at number 9 for that reason. He needs that 1 year. So I agree with you on that. Who's your number 8?
My number 8 guy, Jonnu Smith. Yeah.
Explain.
Him and Hunter Henry kind of go hand in hand. I think they'll play well together because they're great at what the other is not. If you're looking at like precision route running and concepts, you're looking at Hunter Henry. If you're just looking at raw and freakish athleticism, you're looking at Jonnu Smith. That's why I have Hunter Henry just a tiny bit higher than Jonnu Smith. But yeah, I got Jonnu Smith at number 8. Last year, he showed flashes of the playmaking potential he truly has. I believe he's a freak, especially at tight end, with all the freaky freaks they have at that position. And I believe in that Patriots to tight end offense, he'll get more targets and he'll have more opportunities, especially in the red zone, to score.
So there's a couple issues I have with Jonnu Smith, and he didn't even make my top 10. The issues I have with Jonnu Smith is that Jonnu Smith, not only has he had injury problems, but outside of a couple of some early season success last year, he hasn't really shown up this season, really. In his career, really. And not only that, and this is another thing that I should have mentioned for Hunter Henry at number 10. For another reason why he was only at 10 and not higher is because he doesn't exactly have an upgrade at quarterback. He has Cam Newton, who is he is a run first quarterback.
Superman.
Run first quarterback.
You're giving my guy a hard time.
He doesn't throw it. He just tucks it and runs.
He does throw it. Stop that.
He throws it, but not enough for us to say that Hunter Henry's going to have a better season than he did last year.
We don't know that. Give it time.
He's just not going to have a better season. The only reason for Hunter Henry to have a better season is if he stays healthy. Then he's able to get more reps. Him and Jonnu Smith are going to be the top options. Like, let's be real. I don't see either Kendrick Bourne or Nelson Aguilar to end up being the number 1 guy unless they have these incredible seasons. But if they get more reps, if they stay healthy, and if Cam Newton has not quite doesn't suck as much as he did last year, then Hunter Henry will have a better season and he could climb up this list. But we can't sit here and say that Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry are going to be top 7, 8 tight ends in this league.
All right, first things first, I can't let this go. What do you mean Nelson Aguilar can't be a number 1 for the Patriots? You saw what he did to you on the Super Bowl.
My number 8 It's my number 8 is Kyle Pitts.
Okay.
Now, Kyle Pitts, like I said, for this guy, it's not a matter of it. For me, it's not a matter of, and knock on wood again, it's not a matter of if he'll be a great tight end. It's a matter of when he will be. How soon will he make a great impact? Kyle Pitts has all of the tools to be a superstar in this league. He has the athleticism, he has the speed, he has the strength, he has the size, he has all of it. So all he needs is to put it together, and it's a matter of when he'll put it together. Now, like I've said, tight ends typically they don't often pan out very soon. Now, like one of the higher, a couple of the top guys on my list, they didn't come through until a couple of years into their careers. It could be the same with Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts, he's a freakish athlete, and he's going to be. It's just a matter of what sort of an impact he will make. It may take until year 2 or year 3, but this is a guy who's eventually going to be a superstar in this league, or at least be a very good tight end at the very least. But for now, he's my number 8 tight end.
Yeah. You just want. I agree with Kyle Pitts. I just want to see it on the field. That's all. That's why I have him at 10. I'd probably have him a little higher. I just want to see him play. That's all. And if they use him like the Raiders use Darren Waller, yeah, he'll be a top 5 tight end, no problem.
Right. I'm not saying it's obviously I need to see it too, but I'm just saying that I would lower your expectations for this season. I just don't think it's just a matter of how much of an impact he'll make. He had all this hype going into the draft, and he has all this hype going into his NFL career. But pump the brakes on Kyle Pitts. It's going to take some time for him to become what we think he can be. If he does, I still think he's going to, at least as a floor, he's going to be a very good tight end in this league. But whether or not he turns into a Travis Kelce, George Kittle, or Rob Gronkowski back when he was back during his playing days, that could take a couple of years. If he does turn into that, if he turns into that in year 1, I'll be shocked, and he could end up being by the end of his career, being one of the great tight end, in the conversation for one of the greatest tight ends in the history of this league.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, give me your number 7.
My number 7 is Hunter Henry. Yep, Hunter Henry. You're still in disbelief about numbers.
That. I'm as big a Patriots fan as there is, but I can't have those two that high. I just can't do it.
I can, because their quarterback is Cam Newton. He'll come through for you.
Jeez.
But in all seriousness, I do believe Cam Newton will be better than he was last year, because last year he was coming off an injury, a shoulder injury at that. So of course he wasn't at peak Superman performance. I believe this year he's taking another step away from the injury and taking another step in the right direction as far as like progression. I think he'll play better. Hopefully for you Patriots fans out there, Cam Newton will play better for you because Mac Jones is a year away. So I think he'll have a better understanding of the offense. Cam loves tight ends, so he'll be able to target 2 of them now, which is why I have Hunter Henry higher than usual, because of this position, the skill set, and the offense they're running, which is a 2 tight end offense. So yeah, I think he'll get more opportunities, more receptions, more everything. It's just a matter of, can he stay healthy? And knock on wood, he does stay healthy. Hopefully he does stay healthy. And he'll prove to you he's number 7.
I'm glad you have all this optimism for this Patriots offense, but and I hope you're right, but I don't know. This compared to one thing you can look at is back during Cam Newton's Carolina days, his best years were when he was utilizing Greg Olsen back in 2016 and also 2017, When one year he won MVP, the other year he didn't quite. Well, he wasn't that good, but his best production did come from that season. Did come from Greg Olson still. So I sure hope you're right. And these are I'm not trying to trash on them. They're very solid tight ends with very good potential. But the issue is they have injury issues. They've had a long injury history over their career. So I'm a little skeptical about these two guys. And honestly, I'm not surprised if we go into this season without one of them for a few weeks. One of them gets hurt during training camp. Next thing you know, they're sitting out, or one of them gets hurt during preseason. Next thing you know, they're sitting out the next few weeks. Then he comes back, and then the other one gets hurt for a few weeks, and then you have one, and then that one comes back, and the other gets. I could very easily see just they're rarely on the same field together.
But if they're on the same field together, oh my.
I hope so.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also have to hope that Cam Newton pans out. You see how many question marks we have here? It's so hard for me to predict that this is going to work out like we hope it will.
Man, I think I showed you a video of Cam Newton during training camp, and you were not happy of what you were seeing. He
airmailed Kendrick Bourne. Was it Kendrick Bourne or I forgot, but it was somebody, and it was atrocious. It's like he said all this stuff about how he improved his mechanics, that he made some mechanical adjustments, and then he goes out and he makes that throw. He does that thing? Really? Do you know how many touchdown passes he threw in the 2020 season? Do you know how many touchdown passes total that he threw in 16 regular season games? 10. Do you know how many? And I hate to make this about Tom Brady, but I'm going to anyways. Do you know how many touchdown passes Tom Brady threw during the postseason in 4 games? 10. He made the same amount. He made the same amount of touchdown passes in 4 games that Cam, against teams that are not pushovers, by the way, in the Super Bowl and during the playoffs, that Cam Newton did against the AFC East and over a 16-game regular season. Let that sink in for a little bit. So before you keep on saying, "Oh, Cam Newton, he's gonna come through," just think about that. He threw 10 touchdown passes. Anyways, we're getting off topic. All right. My number 7's Noah Fant. Noah Fant, really? He's another. What's that?
Really?
Yeah, I have Noah Fant. Look at his statistics. He actually had a pretty decent season, and with some injury issues coming along with that. So if he didn't get hurt, and if there weren't so many quarterback issues in Denver, then we could be talking about this guy as being in the top 5, to be honest. I mean, I loved Noah Fant going into last season, and he started out the season great. He's just the Denver is a little bit dysfunctional on offense, and I'm not a big fan of Drew Lock. I think that team needs to move on from him. But anyways, Noah Fant had a very underrated season, kind of under the radar. He had some hype on his sophomore season going into the season, but then after the beginning of the year, he kind of got hurt, and he kind of became this forgotten man. But he still flew under the radar. He still had a decent season. I had his statistics up. I'll pull them up now. But anyways, we have Noah Fant. Noah Fant had 673 receiving yards, and he had 3 touchdown passes on 62 receptions, 93 targets. So this is a guy who had a decent season. And I kind of expect it to get better. I mean, he had some injury problems, and if that gets better, then he should climb up this list. So I really like Noah Fant going into the 2021 season.
Yeah, he didn't make my list.
He didn't make your list. So
No,
Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry made your list, but Noah Fant didn't.
I don't know. With Noah Fan, I feel like it's something to be desired from him. And even if you say, "Oh, it's the quarterback position," and you got on me about Cam, it's not like Denver has an All-Pro at their position either. They
Yeah,
have
but
Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater, which may or may not be an upgrade, and that's debatable at this point in time. Like
Noah,
that is a serious argument.
but Noah Fant is better than Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith.
That is your opinion, but again,
And he was still able to have a very good season in spite of that.
mhm.
And it wasn't just that. There was one season where they had to use a running back as a quarterback. Was it a running back or a wide receiver? It was
It
one of
was a
those
wide
two.
receiver, but that
Either
wasn't
way,
because the quarterbacks were bad. It was just they all caught COVID. That's not his.
exactly. So
That's,
that's not on Noah Fant. Meaning even with poor quarterback play, he was still able to. He didn't have his quarterback at some points. And in the beginning of the season, he was lighting it up before he got hurt, and he was on and off the field all season long. I'm forgetting. I need to look up how many games he played because I'm pretty sure he missed quite a few games. Noah Fant. Noah Fant. All right, we'll go to Pro Football Focus. Pro Football Reference. So he did play 15 games
okay.
this past season, but I mean, if you looked at the games that he was playing, he was exiting some games early. I think there was a lingering ankle issue, so we didn't miss much time. So I was wrong about that. But I mean, I had him on fantasy,
Oh,
and
that's how.
it felt like he always had a lingering ankle thing. I'm pretty sure it was an ankle thing, and it was just lingering, and he had to exit a game early once.
Yeah.
It was just brutal. So I
Yeah.
mean, a fully healthy Noah Fant, I think he'll be better.
Noah Fant was to you what Christian McCaffrey was to Brian last year.
Yeah, but Christian McCaffrey had a great season the season prior.
Yeah. And then
Noah
Brian
Fant,
got
I was
this
just
year and did
expecting.
nothing.
Yeah, Brian, our old co-host, he had the number 1 overall pick, and he drafted Christian McCaffrey last year. And for those of you fantasy football guys out there, Christian McCaffrey he was good in the games he played, but he hardly played, so he was kind of a bust. Here's a nickel's worth of fantasy football advice: never take the consensus number 1 guy. Just don't buy into that. It never ends up working out. I can't name a time where it has. Remember David Johnson being the number one pick back in, what was it, 2017?
2017.
And he didn't play a game. He got injured in like the first half. The next season it was Todd Gurley. He had a great season at first, but then he had a knee injury and he was out for the fantasy football playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
The next guy. Who was the next guy at number 1? I'm blanking on him.
Saquon?
It might have been Saquon. Another bust. It never works out.
Watch that bus word here.
From last year?
He
wasn't good. He wasn't good before he got. We're getting way off topic. We're here to debate tight ends, not running backs. That's next week.
Yes.
Anyways, give me your number 6.
That bus word is heavy. Here.
Give me your number 6.
My number 6?
Yes.
T.J. Hawkinson.
T.J. Hawkinson. Okay.
No offense, teammate from Iowa. Yeah, he's his rookie year. There was a lot to be desired, but he made improvements in the running game and in the passing game. He became a better blocker and a better pass catcher for Matt Stafford in those Detroit Lions. A year of down spots, he was probably one of the few bright spots in that offense. And yeah, if they won a game, I'm pretty sure he was helpful in that. And he was a Pro Bowler. So yeah.
All right. Now my number 6 guy is Dallas Goedert. Now Dallas Goedert, if you look at his statistics, it didn't exactly jump out to you. But if you put it into context, he had Zach Ertz he was playing behind. he had a dysfunctional offense that they were playing with, where Carson Wentz was playing just very poor football, and then they changed quarterbacks, and once they moved to Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
Once they moved to Jalen Hurts, he just started playing better. And another year with Jalen Hurts in this system, with him making short passes to Dallas Goedert, and without Zach Ertz, by the way, he's going to be gone, most likely. He's not anticipated to be on the team. They're looking to get rid of him. But given these two factors, I think Dallas Goedert's a type of player who could absolutely explode, and he's a type of player who you expect to get better. I have Dallas Goedert at number 6.
That's funny because he's my number 5, and all for those reasons. He was my number 5 guy.
All right, hold that thought about number 5. We'll go into the top 5 in the next segment. But you got any thoughts on my Dallas Goedert number 6? Well, you have him as 5, I guess.
Yeah, so I can't hate it.
All right. So we're gonna go into our top 5 coming right up. These are the top 5 tight ends in the National Football League. Stay tuned. You're not gonna want to miss this. You're listening to the Fumblerooski podcast. All right, let's start up with our top 5 tight ends in the NFL. These are the best of the best tight ends. So without further ado, Justin, why don't you kick us off since you spoiled your number 5 guy in the last segment? Why don't you start us off?
My number 5 guy is Dallas Goedert, tight end, Philadelphia Eagles. He was playing behind Zach Ertz, who was having a down year, a terrible offense that Carson Wentz was starting behind and wasn't playing up to snuff. I like Carson Wentz, but my God, he was playing terrible. But when Jalen Hurts started to play, you actually started to notice his stats improving, and you saw, hey, look at this. The Eagles don't need Zach Ertz anymore. Ravens give the Eagles a 7th round pick. Just throw it at them and see if they'll bite on Zach Ertz. But besides all that, I believe Dallas Goedert will have more reps now that Zach Ertz, I believe, will not be on the team. He'll have more touches. He'll have more opportunities, and I think he'll be a beast in the red zone. I think he'll be a genuine top 5 tight end. And what I've noticed about tight ends more so than other positions, last week we were struggling about trying to figure out which pass rushers belong to which. Tight ends are like top heavy as hell. That's what I'm noticing.
And we're going to explain just why it is so top heavy in a little bit. But my number 5 is Mark Andrews. Now, Mark Andrews.
Hold on.
Yes.
I can't let that slide. Hold on. Wait a minute.
What's up?
He is top 5, but go ahead. Go ahead. I want to hear this.
I have your guy at top 5
in
the league.
I think he's top 5. Go on.
So we have Mark Andrews, who over the past couple of years has been one of the top 5 tight ends in the National Football League, arguably top 4. But I'll explain to you why I have him at 5 instead of 4. Mark Andrews had a great season, and then Lamar Jackson's play dipped a little bit, and with that, so did Mark Andrews. Now, during Lamar Jackson's MVP campaign, they had 3 tight ends in a sort of a 3-headed monster where they all kind of complemented each other. They had what was it? Nick Boyle.
Yep.
They had Hayden Hurst.
Yep.
And they had Mark Andrews, of course.
Yep.
And Mark Andrews benefited from that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the year that he fell off, we had Mark Andrews. He was still a very good tight end, but he had to play on the line a lot more. He had to block more, and he didn't. There was also, with less targets out there, with Nick Boyle being hurt during the season, and with Hayden Hurst moving to Atlanta, there was that gave the defense an opportunity to put more of their attention onto Mark Andrews and also Marquise Brown as well. Not that he needs that much attention, but anyways,
why?
Mark Andrews kind of dipped, so he will get better. So that's why he didn't dip too much on my list, because they did go and get some help at wide receiver, so it won't be too bad. It'll be better than it was last year, but he's still stable at top 5 for me. And don't forget that this is a run-first offense. So Mark Andrews, his ceiling could only be so high.
Okay. He's my number 4. Mark Andrews is number 4. I tried so hard to put him top 3, but I can't put him over guys that can have literal 1,000-yard seasons. I can't do it. I tried so hard to do it, but I was like, I can't justify this any way, shape, or form.
But in the end, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, he's number 4. He's number 4.
Mark Andrews at number 4. Give me so.
The thing about Mark Andrews is he wasn't 100% because during the season he was dealing with COVID and he had to deal with blocking and dealing with more like people scheming for him now that they don't have a 3 tight ends that people can focus on him more, like you said. And overall, I think the team just dipped a little bit from where it was last year. I mean, we were on a record-setting offense last year, so of course the play is going to dip a little bit, especially Mark Andrews' play. But overall, I believe if the Ravens had everybody like completely healthy for the entire season, which they didn't, I believe they would have been a little better. And Mark Andrews, especially, I think his production might have been a little better. But there were certain points in times where even quarterbacks weren't healthy. Lamar Jackson had to miss a game because of COVID. I'm not sure if that was the same game Mark Andrews did, but if he was able to play in that game, I believe Mark Andrews' like production would like rise up a little bit more. But overall, I believe he'll have a major bounce back season to be a top 3 tight end, I hope. But I can't put him top 3 because we'll talk about it in a minute.
All right, well, so your number 4 is Mark Andrews. My number 4 is TJ Hawkinson.
Oh, gee. Oh, God, no.
And the reason I have TJ Hawkinson is, so like I've mentioned, it's hard for a tight end to become a top tight end in their first 1 to 2 seasons in the league. It usually takes a little bit. And you can see a gradual incline of TJ Hawkinson's career, where his first season he had about 500 yards, and then he goes up to over 700 yards in his next season.
Mm-hmm.
And now, granted that was with Matthew Stafford, but with Jared Goff in there at quarterback and a better offensive line, I don't see Jared Goff being that much of a. He'll be serviceable enough for him so that he can make bigger strides, and he'll end up becoming what he had the potential to be when he was drafted. When he was drafted at, what was it, number 8 overall?
Jared
number
Goff?
9. No, not Jared Goff. Jared Goff is a puppet.
I'm
talking about TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah, he was top 9. I think he was number 9.
Number 9. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, around that area. But he had a high ceiling, and he continues to gradually get better. And I think that trajectory is just going to continue. He hasn't had any injury issues, even on a down year, even on a down game that he has. He catches a touchdown pass, or he'll catch a few passes.
Mm-hmm.
He was the guy on that team. He was the guy. Even Kenny Golladay wasn't reliable. He was getting hurt. Marvin Jones in games would disappear when you expected him to show up. But TJ Hawkinson was just always there. And he had a steady floor, and he had a high ceiling. I think that's going to continue, and it's going to get even better. I have TJ Hawkinson being a top 4 tight end in the league, and maybe better.
This guy right here actually said he's better than Mark Andrews. I can't believe it. I still can't believe it. Even with the justification, that's no, absolutely not. But oh man, I can't. I can't get over that.
TJ Hawkinson. He's going to be great. Just remember the name. Remember the name. TJ
Hawkinson. I know he's on my list. I know he is a Pro Bowler for the NFL. He's not better than Mark Andrews, but okay.
All right. So
I think get into our top 3.
We should. So our top 3, I have a feeling that we have just about the same top 3, which is basically the same top 3 everybody has.
Yeah.
So on a count of 3, do you want to just shout it at the same time? You ready?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Darren Waller, George Kittle, Travis Kelce. Darren Waller, George Kittle, and Travis Kelce.
I agree.
That's our top 3, and that's just about everybody's top 3 who isn't a
idiot
49ers fan or maybe a Raiders fan. Now, what I say about this list is people make an argument for George Kittle be over Travis Kelce. And you can understand that because he's working with George Kittle has never had a quarterback the same caliber as Travis Kelce. But Travis Kelce has been able to not only succeed with Alex Smith, but he's also been able to succeed not only with Patrick Mahomes, but also with Alex Smith. And that's not to knock on Alex Smith, but Travis Kelce, I mean, he's with Patrick Mahomes throwing to him. I just don't see his statistics dipping. And George Kittle, not only does he have some injury issues that he's had. I don't know. I just don't see him being as good as Travis Kelce. And same for Darren Waller. I don't see Darren Waller being better than George Kittle or Travis Kelce. So it's 1, 2, 3, and it's pretty hard to argue against that.
As far as the argument for Dan Waller, I don't think he'll have the team success in order to be up there with George Kittle or Travis Kelce. George Kittle, if you're making the argument for George Kittle, you're basically saying that his blocking and his route running ability far outweighs Travis Kelce. His blocking does, but his receiving ability does not. And also, since George Kittle is also coming off an injury, he's not. I don't think at this moment in time he's 100% better than Travis Kelce. I think Kelce has him right now because he just came off a Super Bowl appearance as well. And what really pains me is that Darren Waller, who's actually my favorite of the 3, was an actual Baltimore Raven. He was, to put it in perspective, we had Darren Waller, Mark Andrews, and Hayden Hurst on our roster at the same time. That hurts in ways you will never understand.
Just let that sink in. Darren Waller, the top 3 tight end in the league, is
once teammates with a top 5 tight end in the league. And oh my god, that's. I'm happy for Darren Waller now that he's on the Raiders and is finally like clean and sober and is getting the success he much wisely deserves. But man, I wish he was on the Ravens. I really do. That team would be vicious.
It would. It would. How does that feel?
It hurts, but again, I'm happy for him. I'm glad he's not on the team anymore because he's able to shine in Oakland.
I guess he's in a system that works. But anyways, there we go. So there you have it.
Wait a minute. What do you mean it's a 3,000-yard rushing system? That works pretty well. I do say so myself.
Well, I guess it didn't work for Darren Waller, didn't it? And he had to go into a new system that just worked for him.
I think he would have been fine here. It's just things just didn't click at that time. That's all.
Chandler Jones, we have in our top, what was it, in our top 5? Around Chandler Jones, we have up there in our rankings for pass rushers because of his days in Arizona. His numbers weren't quite as great when he was playing with New England. Why? Because he went into a system that allowed him to rack up more statistics and got him more involved. He was still very good for us here. I'm glad we had Chandler Jones, but he wanted a lot of money, and the Arizona Cardinals wanted to use him more than Bill Belichick did. And I'm happy for him, just as you are happy for Darren Waller. But they're both in systems that worked. All right. Mm-hmm. Anyways, there you have it. We have our top 10 tight ends for the NFL. So I'll probably put this out on our Instagram page. I know we didn't do that for defense, but I think that would be fun to sort of put out top 10 tight ends going into the top 10 players at each position going into the National Football League for 2021, sort of like according to Justin Tucker, according to Adam Wright, according to the Fumblerooski podcast. I'll put something out like that so you guys can look at it, and you guys could comment your top 10 and tell us why you're wrong. Tell us why I'm wrong. Tell us why Justin's wrong. Tell us why we're both idiots and that we should have George Kittle over Travis Kelce, and why we just put it out there. But anyways, next week we have running backs. The week after that we have receivers, then quarterbacks, and we're going to go from there.
I can't wait for quarterbacks.
I can't wait. Our finale.
I need to see that at least.
Rank the quarterbacks. I'm already thinking about that week. To have
you
quarterbacks.
Already have Brady number 1. I can see it. I can see you having Brady number 1.
No spoilers. No spoilers now. All right. But anyways, so that's what we have coming up. We'll also have our latest news as always. But anyways, that'll do it for us tonight. Thank you for listening to us. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out on Spotify and Google Play. Also, be sure to follow our Instagram at Fumblerooski_podcast to keep up with our podcast and the latest coverage on the NFL. Otherwise, we will see you next week. Over and out.
Bye-bye.